Hello everybody and welcome to this Study With Me series. I'm Sen, I'm a fourth year medical student at Cambridge, and today we're going to be doing some UCAT Situational Judgement questions. And the point of this video is to help those of you struggling to get your heads around this section. Getting a band 1 in Situational Judgement does require some hard work and also requires a bit of wit. I remember when last time reading, only around 20% of students get a band 1 in Situational Judgement. And the point of this section is to kind of help gauge whether you have the right mindset for a successful career in medicine. Now, before I continue with this video, I'm giving away a 1-month MEDIFY UCAT pass. And to be eligible of winning this 1-month pass to help you with your final days of revision, you've got to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and head to my Instagram and look at my latest post and comment down below why you think the NHS is a wonderful organisation. So go do these things, and I'll be choosing the winner of this giveaway for this 1-month pass within the next 24 hours, and we'll get that account up and running so that you can start revising even better for the UCAT. So anyway, let's open up the situational judgment of MEDIFY, and let's begin. Let's zoom in a bit. So first thing we're going to do is read through the paragraph, and then we're going to answer the question. How appropriate are the following responses to smile? So here, there's a student who wears a headscarf, fair enough, but then a senior consultant has said it might pose a risk of infection, which might have some ground, but then again, it's important he respects her religion and her sort of opinions as well, and she's taken aback. So this is about how she responds to it. So wearing this headscarf is part of my religion, so I have absolutely no right to complain about it. That's very inappropriate, because here she's shouting out and patients might be around, and that could sort of cause some issue of, distrust in the medical profession if doctors are shouting at each other. I've not yet been informed about this by any of my other staff as of yet. Okay, that's fairly, sort of, I'd say it's appropriate but not ideal. To be fair, I'd say it's very appropriate because she's saying that, it's the first time someone said that, and that's sort of acknowledging that this is a first sort of comment about it. So here, she's saying, I'm not going to accept your racist views. That's immediately sort of suggesting that Mr. Oak is a racist, and even if he wasn't a racist, it's sort of accusing him of being racist, which is quite serious, so I wouldn't do that if I was her. I'll approach your hospital management team and to check if I'm posing a risk. I think, yeah, that's appropriate and ideal again, because she, hospital management team can make the final decision on it, and they are the ones who sort of make the rules, arguably, so yeah, that could be fair enough. I'll not change the way I wear my headscarf, because nobody has ever complained in the past. That's very inappropriate, because that's immediately dismissing the consultant, and it's important that even if a senior consultant does have some sort of grudge against you or some sort of, opposing point of view, it's important to always just at least acknowledge their point of view as opposed to immediately shut them down. So, yeah. Okay, so we got most of them correct, one slightly close. Yeah, that's very inappropriate, apparently. So she's seeking clarity from the best placed people. She might be confused by Mr. Oak's statement because she hasn't ever received complaints in the past. Therefore, seeking further advice is appropriate. Fair enough. Good. So yeah, it's always about de-escalating situations in medicine. You never want to take something beyond the sort of realms of what it takes to solve it. Keep it calm, just solve it. Next question. So Ryan is a second-year medical student who has recently started working on an infectious disease ward as a healthcare support worker at a district general hospital. Whilst at work, Ryan noticed another of so patients in danger. Okay. That Ryan does not know the other HCSW well. So clearly PPE, especially in an infectious disease ward, is very, very important. And if Ryan notices that they're not sort of changing it, that could really affect patients. And so that Ryan, whether Ryan knows that HCSW or not doesn't matter, this should be looked into. That Ryan does not know whether this is an isolated event or not. Even if it's like a one-off event, that could still cause a lot of damage. And so it's not important that it's a one-off event or whether it's a repetitive event. You've got to get it reported and looked into regardless. That Ryan is aware that this may compromise patient safety. Very important. That Ryan is working on an infectious disease ward. Very important, because PPE is super important in such places. That Ryan has only recently started working on the ward. Not important at all. Because, yeah, if the protocol is to change PPE between patients, especially in an infectious diseases ward, then it must be followed closely. Okay, one of the questions is wrong, which is interesting. Why? Okay, so here what it says is that, although, like I said, even if it's a one-off event, it must be looked into, it's sort of saying that depending on how repetitive this event has been, it might affect the extent of the response, which is, does it just require a gentle reminder for the other HCSW because they also might be new, or is it a far more serious problem? Next question. This is important as he's working on a infectious disease ward. Okay, fair enough. Reason that the situation is not very important is because no matter which ward Ryan was working on, PPE must be used. Fair enough. Yeah, the reason why this is like this is because you should be maintaining good hygiene in whatever ward you're in, not just specifically in an infectious disease ward. Okay, next question. Mary is a 50 medical student who's all with remember a medical school. It's a birthday party and a celebration. Busy bar. Okay, cool. Few drinks. Lottie slumped to the floor. Gosh, okay. Lottie can't stand, lose consciousness. The rest of the medical students want to call emergency services. But Mary isn't sure if this is a good idea because she doesn't want Lottie to be in trouble. Okay. This is because she is not sure what Lottie has drunk or taken. Okay, cool. So she's out there celebrating with friends. One of her friends collapses. She's a medical student as well. And of course, it's important that even as a medical student, you behave professionally. So other medical students want to call the emergency services, but Mary doesn't want that to happen, or doesn't think it's a good idea, just in case Lottie gets into trouble. So, pretend that she's a doctor and care for Lottie in this premise, very inappropriate. You should never pretend you're a doctor, because that's sort of falsification, and that could be very dangerous. Stop the medical students from calling emergency services, because this could be detrimental to Lottie's future career. So, Lottie literally just has slumped to the floor. She's unable to stand and loses consciousness. In this situation, whether it's due to drinks or drugs or whatever, this person is on the cusp of possibly dying. This might be due to other reasons, let's say a heart attack or even something like that. So what's really important to realize is that the medical emergency services are the only people who can logically solve this problem with medical certainty. So it's very inappropriate to be stopping any medical services from being called, even if it is detrimental to Lottie's career, because Lottie could die if the medical emergency services don't come. Allow the medical students to call emergency services, even if it means Lottie will be sanctioned for her behaviour. Very inappropriate. Because, think about it, her life is more important than just being sanctioned for her bad behaviour or whatever she's taking. Take Lottie to a quiet area in the bar and wait for her to regain consciousness. This is not the best of things. I'd either choose between inappropriate and awful to very inappropriate. Given that she's unable to stand and has lost consciousness and has simply slumped to the floor, I'd say it's very, very inappropriate. Because if there are any other underlying illnesses that Lottie had, then this could make it much worse if she doesn't see a doctor or emergency staff quickly. Confront the barman about the drinks he served Lottie. Very inappropriate. Because confronting again escalates the situation, and you never want to escalate. You want to keep it calm and solve it as easily as you can. Okay, all 5 are correct. Nice. Graham has been a GP in a doctor's surgery for just over 30 years, and as a result has got to know the community very well. Agnes, an 82-year-old woman, visits Dr. Graham regularly and is really grateful for all the help she has received. During consultation, she states that she wishes to give a large donation as a way of saying thank you. Let's learn this now. Doctors and gifts, should not go hand in hand, simply because it's professionalism. If, as a doctor or a medical professional, you ever accept a gift from a patient, there's a high risk that the patient could then expect care that's different to what they would have received before. So when it comes to gifts, always say no politely. So thank the patient and accept the gift. This is a large donation, and so although he's known her for a very long time, I'd say it's very inappropriate. Accept the gift and ask that Agnes keeps it confidential and does not inform others. Very inappropriate. Accept the gift and donate it to the GP surgery. Very inappropriate. She should ask maybe for Agnes, the elderly lady, to instead give it directly to the GP herself, or the surgery herself. So he shouldn't accept it. Explain why he's unable to accept the donation. Very inappropriate, because if you explain, then at least a good understanding is established. Make sure that Agnes's family are aware and happy for Agnes to donate the fat money before accepting. So here it says accepting. So I'd say, okay, inappropriate. But even then, I guess her family should be aware, because again, Agnes is an 82-year-old lady, and so she could be very forgetful. She might be struggling to make the right choices, given that old age does affect us in that way. So I'd say it's between inappropriate and awful and very inappropriate, but we'll see. Because either way, he's accepting it at the end of the day, whether the family say yes or are aware or whatever or not. So, okay, kind of good, but the middle answer is wrong. Let's see what's partially incorrect. Okay, so fair enough. This is considered to be partially correct because it's saying you're not personally accepting it, but the surgery as a whole will be accepting it. But I said it's very inappropriate since the doctor, it says here, accept the gift, which implies the doctor's accepting the gift. Fair enough. Close enough. Okay, Ellen is a third-year medical student who's on her first clinical rotation on a general surgery ward. During clinical years, students are expected to shadow doctors and get used to the clinical environment as well as improve their skills. When she comes to the ward, her consultant that she is assigned to is on holiday and won't be back for 3 weeks. She's a student on her first clinical rotations, sort of experiencing her first clinical care, and then her supervising consultant won't be there for 3 weeks. So this then puts Ellen in a very precarious situation because the person who's sort of meant to teach her and supervisor isn't there. So Ellen should be really proactive here and sort of seek someone to mentor her or sort of responsibly teach her basics whilst the consultant's away. So asking another doctor, such as an FY1, if she can shadow them, that's very appropriate, because an FY1, to be fair, I might actually say this is appropriate but not ideal. Do you know why? Because FY1s are usually quite busy, and so it's not really their responsibility to teach Ellen or to allow Ellen to shadow them. So it's not ideal to ask this FY1, but it's appropriate. It's better than going around on your own. Go home to study about surgery for the day. No, very inappropriate. Take some time off until the supervising consultant comes back from the holiday. Very inappropriate, because that's detrimental to education. Email the course administrator, explain the situation, and ask if she can be placed with another consultant. Very appropriate, because the course administrator is the one ultimately responsible for this, and so it's sort of they're the best person to contact in this situation. Follow someone else's group, and follow someone else around the ward. Okay, so this is, again, rather reasonable. However, this other group may have been put together as a group for a certain reason, and so if Ellen goes around with it, that might cause logistical problems, and also if a whole horde of people are going around each ward, that might create a bit of a faff. So I'd say that's inappropriate and awful. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Okay, so the last two answers were correct. The first two weren't so correct. Let's see why. So, okay, this is fair enough. It says it's very appropriate. As a medical student, using your own initiative during clinical work is encouraged and demonstrates that Ellen is trying to use her time wisely. This also means Ellen will improve her own skills. Fair enough. My thinking was that it's not ideal because, as I said, FY1s can be busy, and so if they aren't necessarily told to supervise you, then we shouldn't really annoy them. But this is very appropriate because it's taking a proactive approach. So this apparently is wrong, because when I saw this answer, I just thought, if you go home and study about surgery for the day, although this is for the day, it's sort of not solving the situation. She's just running away from it. So, it doesn't, as this explanation says, it doesn't help Ellen improve her clinical skills. But I guess it's still fair enough because she's going home and sort of learning more about the background of surgery, as the explanation says. But yeah, that's all right. Okay, next question. Rebecca is a student at university. Recently, she has started to notice that one of her friends is having a difficult time and has begun drinking alcohol more frequently. She has tried to speak with a friend and has suggested that they see a doctor about how they're feeling. However, her friend refused and became very offended at the suggestion. How important are the following considerations for Rebecca when deciding how to respond to the situation? Whether her friend's health is deteriorating. I'd say it's very important. That Rebecca is unsure what could have triggered this response. I'd say that's not important at all, because whatever caused it, it's important that Rebecca helps her friend get better. Whether her friend wants to go to the doctor. I think that's important. Let's see how that is. This question's a bit of a funny question. it's more like a social question as opposed to just testing our sort of clinical aptitude. Okay, close enough though. That's correct, fair enough. Rebecca may not know what is going on in her friend's life, but that should not affect her ability to try and help her friend. Regardless of what has caused the situation, her friend needs urgent help, so it is important that Rebecca tries to help her. Fair enough. So whether her friend wants to go to the doctor or not, this is a very important consideration, as information given does not provide her friend's point of view. There may be a reason why a friend did not want to go to the doctor, which she has not told Rebecca, and it's important that she respects her friend's wishes. Okay, fair enough. This is of minor importance. The most important consideration in this situation is how Rebecca can support her friend effectively, regardless of whether she has other sources of support. However, Rebecca could potentially seek help from her friend's other close friends, as she may feel more comfortable speaking to them. Fair enough. Whether her friend has managed to complete coursework and attend lectures. This is an important consideration. Other things are affecting her attendance and work. Fair enough, okay. It's not as important as you thought, but it's still important. Monica is a fourth year medical student on placement in a general medical ward. One afternoon, she's asked by an FY doctor to take bloods from a patient and send those bloods to the labs. She performs the procedure well. Okay, she added the wrong CHI number, patient identification number. That's serious. Okay, so she's done a blood test, fair enough. Labelled incorrectly, but then is wondering whether she should flag it up. Patient doesn't seem too well, so taking another blood is inconvenient, and she also doesn't want to look stupid to the junior doctor. However, what's really important to realise is that misidentification of bloods and all can be very, very dangerous. So even if she looks stupid, it's important to say I made a mistake and to just make sure the right things are done to sort that problem out. So as she asked the FY1 to watch, and they did not catch her mistake. That's not important at all. It's not the FY1's responsibility to get this right. The medical student themselves has a responsibility to make sure that they, do the right thing as well and make sure that they're diligent. So you can't really blame the FY1. That the patient did not want to be disturbed, I'd say that's of minor not important at all, because whether the patient wants to get disturbed or not now, the blood's been sent, and that could be very dangerous. So the patient is going to have to be disturbed in this situation, and they're going to be told that a mistake was made with the blood samples and that another blood needs to be taken. The patient seemed quite unwell. I'd say the importance of this and how she should respond to the situation is not important at all. I'd say of minor importance, because again, this is far more dangerous because the blood's been mislabeled. The Monica does not want to look stupid in front of the FA1, not important at all. The Monica is only a medical student, not important at all. Okay. The patient did not want to be disturbed. This is of minor importance. Although Monica should approach the situation apologetically, the fact remains that the patient needs to have these investigations completed, as I said, fair enough, and therefore Monica must ensure this is done. Yep. However, the fact that the patient did not want to be disturbed means that Monica may need to change her approach to the patient, one of extreme compassion and understanding, whilst making sure these investigations are completed. Okay, fair enough. This one's wrong. So, the patient seemed unwell. Okay. I misunderstood this question. When I said the patient seemed unwell, I considered that scenario to be similar to the one before, where it said the patient did not want to be disturbed. But in this situation, it's saying the patient's unwell, and it's viewing it in the perspective of these bloods are important to return to help work out how to get this unwell patient better again. And so if the patient is unwell, then yes, it's of paramount importance that they take bloods again to make sure they work out what's wrong with the patient, to help them therefore treat the patient. One Sunday evening, Max realised that he has to submit an English essay on Monday. Panicked, he calls his best friend, Sherry, to ask for help. Sherry feels angry as Max always leaves his work to the last minute and asks for help. Max also plagiarized assignments in the past. Max asks Sherry for help with this assignment. Okay, that's not good. Send Max her essay for him to use a guide. Very inappropriate. Because Sherry feels angry and she has no need to send Max her work. This is Max's responsibility to make sure that he does his work in his own time, and he should face the consequences if he fails to do so. Leave Max to do the assignment on his own. Okay, that's not the nicest things to do. I'd say it's inappropriate. I'd say it's appropriate but not ideal, because maybe she could give him some hints to help, because, he is a colleague that's in a panic situation and in distress, so maybe she could give him some pointers, but there's no need for her to send him her work. Talk to Max about changing his habit and being more responsible, but not leaving his assignments to the last minute. Very appropriate. Change some words and sentences in her essays so that Max can pass it off as his own. Very inappropriate. Tell Max to give up trying to meet the deadline since he will not be able to submit a good piece of work. Very inappropriate. That's like saying, you're going to fail anyway, stop revising. Okay, all of them are correct. Anyway, so hopefully doing these situational judgment questions has been useful, and hopefully you've learned something from it. The point of these questions, like I said again, is to really help you think more like a doctor, make responsible decisions that are ethical and that follow the GMC guidelines for what it means to be a good doctor and for what it means to sort of take part in good medical practice. So I wish you all the best of luck revising for the situational judgment section. Like I said, with this video, I am giving away a full 30-day UCAT MEDIFY pass. So like this video, subscribe, and make sure to go to my Instagram, and on the latest post, comment why you think the NHS is a great organisation. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you guys soon in the next video. Bye.